Hi, I'm Claire from Inspiratrix Yoga. Today's session is suitable if you are pregnant and should feel helpful for stabilizing around the hips and releasing the lower back. You will need some props though. Ideally, a couple of thin yoga blocks or even a couple of chunky yoga blocks would work really well. If you don't have those, you'll need to go and find something like some thick textbooks, something like that for some of the poses. And if you're using the thick textbook option for standing on, you'll also need a cushion because we'll do some squeezing between the leg stuff. So go gather those things. The other thing that would be really helpful is if you can set yourself up near to a wall or failing that near to a chair, but ideally a wall for some of the poses that we'll be doing in this mini sequence. Enjoy the class. Let's do some stirring the pot. If you straighten your legs out now, like have them in front of you, with the feet like a little bit wide but not super wide. And then I want you to imagine that you have a giant cauldron and a giant spoon. I want you to inhale, swing out to the side and forwards, nice and slowly. Exhale, come to the other side and back. So do a few stirs, allowing your spine, your torso, your arms to move within what's a comfortable range of movement for you. Like whatever is in your great cauldron right now, stirring around. Have the legs quite active as you do that, like feet flexed, legs pressing into the floor. Let's do some stirs the other way. Just within whatever is your comfortable range of movement for doing this. Great. Bring that to a close. And then come into half knee pile with the right leg straight and the left leg crossed over the top. If that does not feel okay in your hips right now, you could do this with the foot next to the inside of the thigh or shin instead. Inhale, imagining the breath traveling. Which way around did we do it? It was like inhale, breath is coming up. Exhale, imagining the breath traveling down. So inhale, imagining the breath traveling up from the base of the spine, up to the head. Exhale, imagining the breath traveling down from the head to the base of the spine. We'll come into neck release here now. Place your left hand on the floor, just out from the hip. And have your right arm out to the side, but a little lower than the shoulder. Again, if this leg position doesn't feel okay for you, you could be in this kind of leg position. Great. Inhale, filling up with air. Exhale, relax your left ear towards the left shoulder. Move the left shoulder down too. Keep playing with the sense of the breath traveling up and down. Soothing long breaths. Letting your head relax to the side so that the side of the neck gets a chance to stretch out. Good. Okay, ease upright. Perhaps use your hand to straighten the head. And then change your legs over the other way. With the right leg crossed over the top or right foot in next to the side of the leg. So now hang out here with the spine straight to begin with. Inhale, tracking the breath up. Exhale, tracking the breath down. Giving yourself the space and time for really nice deep breaths. And then with that sense of length in the spine, come into that mini side bend with neck release. So take the right hand on the floor, just straight out from the hip. Lean a little to the side, and then reach your left hand out, but like lower than the shoulder. Inhale with a sense of the breath rising up the spine. Lift the chest a little bit. Exhale, relaxing the right ear towards the right shoulder. Really letting the head go, so the muscles on the side of the neck have a chance to lengthen and stretch out. Relaxing around your neck, your jaw. And then finish up on this side. Unbend the legs and just give everything a bit of a shake, whatever position you're in. Wibble the legs, wibble your arms. Wibble your hips on the floor. I can see some awesome wibbling going on. We could just do this for the rest of the hour, actually. Let's do a little bit of cat-cow now. Come onto your hands and knees. I want to start this as a really mini cat-cow, where you'll just be tilting the pelvis a tiny, tiny bit. So you're just isolating the movement around the pelvis, and it's just the lower vertebra, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 vertebra that are moving, not the rest of the spine. So come onto your hands and knees. Kind of figure out a position to begin with that feels neutral for you. And then paying attention to just making this the smallest movement as possible. On the inhale, you're tilting the tailbone up a little bit, letting the pubic bone drop down, just a tiny bit. On the exhale, the tailbone's moving down, the pubic bone's moving forward, like the lower belly is coming up a little bit, but through tilting the pelvis. So keep playing with that, just a really micro movement. On the inhale, letting the belly drop a tiny bit, but you're not really moving the belly, it's more just the hips that are tilting. And then on the exhale, reversing that. So tailbone moving down, top of the sacrum moving up. Play with that for the next few breath rounds, making this movement as small as you can. Just really isolating this tilt movement around the hips, noticing the lower back, like the base of the spine and the base of the lumbar, the bottom of the lumbar moving as you do this. It's kind of tempting to go full cat-cow because we do that, but like we'll do that in a moment. I want you to just keep the rest of the spine level, so your head, your upper back, your mid-back is staying still. You're just moving the hips and playing with that feeling. Sometimes that can be a nice releasing thing for the lower back. Then if you're really enjoying this and this feels helpful to your lower back, you could keep doing these mini tilts. If you're like, I want to move the rest of my spine as well, then slowly increase this movement so the rest of your spine gets to move a little too. So on the inhale, making your like cow shape with the udders hanging down. On the exhale, making a cat shape. So the cat's like an angry cat where they like round the back and push the mid back up. playing for a few more rounds with whatever version of cat-cow feels nice in your spine today. Respecting your own body signals. So if it does not feel good to go too far, don't go too far. Like, stay within what's a comfortable range of movement. Stay within what feels good for you. Okay, let that be the last one. We're going to do a load of things that are quite nice for releasing around the hips and for stabilizing around the hips. So just before we kind of do that mini sequence, just wiggle your butt around, wiggle your hips around, and notice how your hips and your legs are feeling right now. We're going to do a whole series of, in some ways, quite small movements. But as we go through the sequence, I want you to feel whether any of them are particularly helpful for you and the way your hips and back are. Let's start with some hip circles. So for this, let's take your left foot forward. So you're balancing on the ball of your left foot, and then most of your weight's on the right foot. Place one hand on the front and one hand on the back of your right hip. And then you'll do some very slow circles on that hip. So most of the weight is on the right foot. Very slow circles, just being aware of how your hip, the leg bone is moving in the hip joint here. It's like oiling the joint. No, so really nice and slowly. Circle the other way as well. And as you do this, keep your deep breath going. All right, let's do the other side. So stand on the left leg, just put the right foot forward. You put your hands on the front and back of your left hip just to help you focus on that area. Do some slow, really slow circles in one direction. Feeling for how you're moving your actual hip joint through space. And the hip capsule, like the leg bone in the hip capsule, there's going to be this movement there. And then do the other way. Just paying attention to your hip. Great. Next thing I want to do is active feet. Just to get the feet really, really woken up. I'm going to put this on my feet so it's really easy to see. So we've done this before, but let's do it again because it's great for getting connection to the feet. So active feet. Now let's take one foot in front again, and then massage the ball of your foot from side to side on the floor. This is foot massage time, so enjoy it. Feel the floor through the ball of your foot, like massaging it forwards and backwards and side to side. Giving your foot some love. Like whether your foot's been in wellies today, or whether it's just been stuck under your desk, like giving your foot some love right now. Then do the same on the heel. So easing the heel from side to side. And then forwards and backwards. Like high feet. I love you feet. Okay. Now bring that foot underneath the hip, whichever one you were just working on. And I want you to lift all 5 toes up, but anchor down through the heel and the ball of the foot. So pressing down through the ball, pressing down through the heel, and just noticing the feeling in the foot and the feeling in the leg, particularly compared to the other foot. Just like really relax the other leg. And notice how there's more of an active feeling in the foot you just gave the massage and woke up. Good, let's do the same thing for the other foot. So take the other foot forward and massage the ball of that foot on the floor. You might find little crunchy bits. So if there's a particular crunchy bit, like in reflexology, the outside edge of the ball of the foot is like corresponds to the shoulders. So, you know, if that's crunchy for you, give it a little massage on the floor and break down some of the crunchy crystals. Okay. And then massage the heel on the floor. In reflexology, the heel corresponds to the digestion, like particularly the large and small intestines. So sending some love to your heel and also to your large and small intestines. Great. Then bring both feet underneath your hips and now lift all 10 toes up off the floor, but anchor down through the heels and the balls of the feet. So pressing down in the heels and the balls, but lifting the toes. Hang out in mountain pose for a bit with the feet super active. As you breathe in, imagine your breath traveling from your feet up to your head. As you breathe out, imagine your breath traveling from your head down to your feet. Working with that sense of the breath as you stand in mountain pose with your active feet. Next thing we'll do is some hip tilts. For this, I'd like you to take either a chunky block or 2 thin blocks or a cushion that's folded in half and have it between your inner thighs. So we've kind of lubricated our hip joints, we've woken up our feet, and now we're going to play with this connection between the hips and the feet. And then have your feet about hip distance apart and parallel. Inhale, have the feet active. Now on the inhales, I want you to stick your hips backwards a little bit. On the exhales, I want you to straighten up a bit. On the inhale, I'm bending my knees to help this happen. It's a bit like the tailbone is going back. The front of the pelvis is going down. On the exhale, the tailbone is going down. The front of the pelvis is coming up. So play with that now for a few breaths. Playing with a sense of how the pelvis is tilting. Doing this in a way that feels good for you. Like you can totally sort of do it more or do it less. I want you to do it in a way that feels comfortable for you. Like not overdoing it, but still playing a bit with whatever movement's there. Sometimes you can get to a place with this where it almost feels like you're going in a circle. Like a water wheel almost. As you're tilting the bowl of the pelvis forwards and backwards. Keep your feet active and keep a little bit of a squeeze on your inner thighs as you do this. Good. Make that the last one. Next, we'll do a calf stretch. This is where it would be helpful to have one block. Works with a thin block, also works with a thick block. Other ways, take something like a book. Have a block on the floor. And then put the ball of, let's say, the right foot on the block. The heel is on the ground. So the ball of the right foot is lifted up on something. Probably a cushion's too squashy, but you could try with a cushion or a couple of cushions. So the ball of the heel is up. The ball of the foot is on the block. Heel's on the floor. Now you can get less calf stretch if you take the other leg further back, or you can get more calf stretch if you take the left foot further forwards. You need to take it kind of forwards of the block, and the further forwards you take this left leg, the more stretch you get on the calf. So I want you to find a place where it's like, yeah, I'm getting a calf stretch, and then hang out here. Once you've figured out where you want the left foot, then make sure your right foot's even. So press down into both sides of the ball of the right foot. Let the arms relax and do the mountain pose thing, so you're upright. Play with a sense of tracking the breath upwards on the inhale, from the foot all the way up to your head. And downwards on the exhale, down to the foot. Pressing down equally into the outside and the inside of the foot. Great. Switch sides. So the ball of the left foot is on your prop, and then adjust your right leg sort of forward to a point where you're getting a good stretch for you in the back of your calf. Whatever positioning for the right leg works for you. Level up your left foot. Press down evenly into it. And hang out here, breathing, feeling the stretch. And you're pretty much orientated straight forward here. Like you're not spinning off to one side or the other. Just the feet are straight, the hips are fairly straight. Getting into this interesting stretch in the back of the calf. Notice if you're all on the outside of the left foot or all on the inside of the left foot. Press down through both. Okay, great. Come off the block. Next one is a shin stretch. So let's come back to the right leg. You'll just stand on the left leg, and then the right leg is going to go back, and you're pressing the top of your right foot into the floor. Yeah, like the top of the foot is pressing into the floor. So you can get a bit of a stretch in the front of the right thigh. Yeah. Inhale and make your left foot active as well. Exhale, relax the arms and the shoulders. Paying attention to your feet, your legs, your hips. Switch to the other side, bringing your weight onto the right leg and taking the left leg back, balancing on the top of your left foot. No props required. Again, kind of feel like you are straight. Your right foot's pointing straight ahead, your left foot's pointing straight back. Exploring this feeling of an opening along the front of your left leg. Imagining or feeling the sense of the breath tracking up and tracking down. Great. So, let's come back to something squeezing a prop between the thighs. If you have a wall easily accessible to you, you will do this with your back on the wall, like doing chair on the wall with the back on the wall and a prop between the thighs. If you don't have a wall, you can just do this in like a standing chair, taking the hips back, having the knees over the hips. So you're like in a standing chair, but with a prop between the thighs. If you don't have a wall, take your hips back. So the knees are over the ankles, the knees are not forward of the ankles. Great. All right, inhale and activate your feet. As much as possible, have your ankles underneath the knees. Exhale, squeeze your thighs onto your prop. Feel the legs and feet active. So it's definitely a feet active moment. Then you could also do some arm movements. So keeping all that action in the legs, the feet. On the inhale, take the arms out to the side, just as far as is comfortable. On the exhale, lower the arms back down. They don't have to go all the way up, unless that just feels nice right now. So inhale, arms come out to the side a bit. Exhale, arms come down. Keep squeezing your blocks, keep the feet active. Do 2 more. Really nice slow breaths. Slow arm movements. Great, and then come out of chair on the wall. Remove your blocks. And for this next thing, this is where you want to stand on a platform. So I'll demonstrate with props. If you have different props or in a different room, you can make this up. So swinging psoas, you'd put blocks on the floor kind of near to the wall or near to something you could hold on to. Then stand on your blocks with a foot nearest the wall. And the wall is just here to help support me. So I could be near a piece of furniture, something like that. Standing on the blocks with one leg, and then I'm just going to swing the other leg. As I'm doing this, I'm keeping the hips really level. This doesn't work if your block is tiny. You need a little bit of a platform. Great. So really keep the hips level. I can see some of your hips, and they look good. I can't see everybody's hips, but keep the hips level, just swinging the free leg forwards and backwards. Change the angle that you're swinging at. So let's take the foot in at the front and out the back without moving your hips. And you may feel that your leg gets longer. That's good if that happens. And then take the leg out to the front and in the back. Swinging, not letting the hips move. Just like getting this almost quite a floppy leg. Okay, great. Notice if that leg feels funny, feels longer. And then we'll do the other side. So just standing on both legs. Does one feel different to the other? Yeah, let's do the other side now. So standing on your platform with the other leg. Let's just start with some forwards and backwards swings. Perhaps holding onto something like a piece of furniture or wall just to help you stay stable with the upper body and the hips as you do this leg swingy thing. So, yeah, standing on something with the right leg if you can, otherwise it doesn't quite work so well. You could stand on a chair, but don't fall off. Then let's try going in the front, out the back. It's a slightly different angle. So I feel like some of your hips are moving forwards. For this exercise, I know we've done lots of moving of the hips. I want you to keep your hips really still and just let the legs swing. This is because it may help relax your psoas muscle, which is one of the big muscles inside us that can sometimes get quite tight. Okay, change what the leg's doing. So go out the front, in the back. Like quite relaxed leg, quite floppy leg almost. Okay, good. Step down off your little platform and onto your feet, just noticing how the feet are, how their hips feel right now. And if any of these exercises like feel really good, remember them and repeat them, because they're quite specific for kind of all the all the things we're doing in this mini sequence are quite specific for releasing stuff around the hips or strengthening stuff around the hips. The next thing we'll do is downward facing dog. You could do a regular downward facing dog if that feels good to you today. Or I really like to do downward facing dog with the hands on the wall or the hips. And actually, if you're pregnant, do the one with the hands on a chair or a wall. So you would, if you're on the wall, have the hands about chest height or maybe waist height. You walk the feet back and come into an L shape like that. If you've got using a piece of furniture, have the hands on the seat or the back of the chair, either works. Walk your feet back and then come into this like downward facing dog type shape, where if you're doing this with the hands not on the floor, position your ankles so they're underneath your hips. Slightly bend your knees as well. Yeah. And then stretch your hips away from the hands. Lengthening the lower back. Taking long, steady breaths. Letting the belly relax down. Stay in downward facing dog. The version with the hands on the wall or the sofa might be quite nice on the wrists if you wanted to try that, like not so much pressure on the wrists. Like the nice thing about this is there's not too much weight on the wrists. But you can really work into lengthening the lower back. Okay, to come out of it, either walk your feet forwards into a forward bend and stand up, or walk towards the chair or wall and stand up. Let's kind of ease down to the floor now and move towards some more relaxing stuff. Let's go into like a seated twist next. Come down on the floor, sitting on a cushion or sitting on a block if that feels better to you. And then we'll come into a twist. Let's just do a twist from a cross-legged position, or you could really do this from any position. Inhale, imagine your breath traveling up from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, lengthening up. Exhale and turn to your right. Take the right hand on the floor behind you. If you're pregnant, keep your left hand on the left knee, or if it feels okay to cross the hand over, you could cross that left hand over onto the right knee. Notice if it feels like you're falling forwards or backwards here. Just maybe move a little from side to side or forwards and backwards. And then come to a position where it feels like your spine is quite straight. And then just check your head as well. Move the head from side to side and forwards and backwards, just a little bit, and just feel where would be straight for my head. Connect to a soothing quality in your breath. Feel for relaxing your internal organs. Any tension in your guts. And then ease out of the twist. If you're doing something asymmetrical with your legs, change the legs over the other way around. Play again just with coming forwards and backwards a little bit, side to side. And then feel for being like in the middle. Inhale, imagine the spine growing an inch longer. Exhale, come into the twist the other way, taking the right hand on the floor behind you. And if you're pregnant and it feels better to do so, have your left hand on the right knee. Just give space to your bum. But if it feels like actually it's okay to take the hand over onto the right knee, you could have the hand on the right knee. And then just play for a moment with that sense of like, am I actually leaning forwards or backwards here, or crunched over to one side? And feel for kind of finding a place in the middle where the spine is quite long. And then just be aware of the head as well, like, yeah. Coming to a place where it's like, no, I feel pretty straight. And then infusing with breath. Yoga's about infusing everything with breath, really. Really connecting to the power of your breath and how taking a deep breath can be soothing. Soothing and nourishing and nurturing. Just in this simple twist. Okay, come out of the twist, and now it's time to go into Shavasana. So the regular way to do this is lying on the back on the ground with the legs straight or the knees bent. If you're pregnant though, it may make more sense to lie on your left hand side, or you could do this on the right hand side, but you might want, if you're pregnant, you might want to be on the side to try that. Now if you're not pregnant and you want to try lying on the side, you're very welcome to join in this as well. Otherwise, if you really like lying on the back, lie on your back. If you were going to do a side lying setup, I'd recommend putting something underneath your head. And then a couple of ways to do the legs. You could have the legs bent and put something in between the legs, maybe a blanket or some cushions. So keep the legs a little bit, something between the legs. A pillow works really great here too. Or you could do this with your bottom leg straight, top leg bent, and then supporting the top leg on something. So choosing one of those positions to set up, making sure you're comfortable, closing your eyes, and settling into rest. Imagine the breath tracking up and down the spine. Connecting to the soothing aspect of your deep breath. Letting yourself rest for a few minutes. Just resting in Shavasana. Take a huge breath in through your nose. Long breath out through your nose. If you want to, you can choose to stay resting on the floor and take a bit more time in Shavasana. If you know that you need to or want to get up, then bend your knees and roll to one side and sit up from the side. Just easing your way to an upright position. Slowly waking up enough to go and have lunch or dinner or whatever happens next. Thank you so much for joining me on my mat for this sequence about bringing a little bit of movement but stability to the hips and the lower back. I'd love to know how you found it, so do leave a comment in YouTube below. Do the thumbs up thing if you liked it. And if you want to do more yoga with me, I have a monthly membership, including a virtual vault full of exciting pre-recorded videos and live Zoom classes every single week. Details of that are in the description below. I hope to practice with you again very soon.